Welcome to the third video in the series, The Learning Networks of the Brain. In this video, I will focus on the strategic networks. I'm Ruth Bomar. A lot of my material comes from this book, Teaching Every Student in the Digital Age, Universal Design for Learning by David H. Rose and Anne Meyer. The strategic networks are located in the frontal cortex. I'm going to draw it with pink so you can see right here. This is the frontal lobes. Our strategic networks enable us to plan, execute, and monitor our internal mental patterns as well as our motor patterns. Strategy is involved in everything we do, from actions and skills as simple as sweeping the floor to things as complex as choosing a college. To illustrate the strategic networks, let's take another look at the unexpected visitor. Look at this image and try to identify the type of room in which the scene is set. Most likely you can glance at the room and easily determine that it shows a living room or a parlor. You've relied on your strategic networks to provide information and figure this out. You've identified a goal, came up with a plan to achieve it, you executed that plan, and evaluated its outcome. You've avoided distractions that might carry you off track. This strategy can be seen in eye movement maps. In this slide, the middle and right images show eye movement maps of someone examining the unexpected visitor. Each reflects the same individual looking at the same image, yet the patterns of the movement are different. Why? Because the goals were different. First, the viewer was told to look at the image, but was given no specific instruction about what to look for. Second, he was instructed to identify the ages of the people in the picture. Each instruction required a different viewing strategy, and in each new strategy it resulted in a different pattern of eye movement. Even a simple action like searching a picture involves a multi-step strategic process. Identify goals, design a plan, execute the plan, self-monitor, or in other words, get feedback, correct and adjust actions. Our brains can plan, organize, and monitor patterns of actions while just barely engaging our conscious minds, and usually while we're doing other things. So how does this happen? Strategic processes are distributed in a highly efficient manner. The ability to think and act strategically is distributed across specialized modules in the brain, and these modules are located in their own unique territory, primarily in the frontal lobes. The pattern of activity is distributed across the modules of the frontal lobes, and this pattern shapes how we plan and execute actions. Strategic modules operate in parallel and enable us to perform highly complex actions. Take, for example, what's involved in playing an organ. Parallel processing within strategic networks enable the organist to simultaneously coordinate different keyboards and numerous pedals and switches. Strategic modules are also interdependent. The connections between the modules doing different things enable one to influence the other. What you're about to do will influence what you're doing now. For example, the way you pick up a bowling ball will be influenced one way if you intend to bowl the ball yourself, and another way if you intend to hand the ball to a friend. Another example is when we speak. Separate but connected modules process syllables simultaneously, so that the pronunciation of each syllable of the word is highly influenced by those syllables that follow it. That's why pre-recorded voices like the nice lady in my GPS or the screen reader that reads aloud the words on your computer screen sound odd. Cursive writing provides another example. When we write, we form individual letters differently depending on which letters follow them. Skill instruction is often more effective when the various components of the process are learned simultaneously rather than one at a time. Thus, a tennis instructor may model the entire serve and then encourage the learner to try it out, only analyzing individual steps when particular aspects must be corrected. This is an example of top-down processing. Likewise, each subcomponent of a task, like writing an essay, makes the most sense to our students if it is taught in the context of the entire task. The cerebellum is an example of bottom-up processing. The cerebellum is a cauliflower-shaped structure located at the back and base of the brain, overlaying the brainstem. The cerebellum takes sensory feedback, which clues it into how actions are being executed, and compares it to other signals that convey the actions intended. Then, through bottom-up projection, the cerebellum informs our strategic networks about whether our actions are on target. Bottom-up processing operates in a similar way to refine mental patterns. Like a thermostat, bottom-up processing regulates skills and strategies. What we are seeing here is how the brain processes information. Information is processed in parallel and simultaneously, as well as from top-down and bottom-up. Top-down processing is like looking at the big picture, and bottom-up processing is looking at the details. This needs to be reiterative. Learning happens best when it is both top-down and bottom-up. The learner needs good verbal instructions and a visual model. This provides context, or the why. The learner also needs plenty of opportunities to practice and receive ongoing, relevant feedback. This provides the how. Because of the way information or input is distributed and processed in the brain, it introduces a level of complexity that would not exist in a homogeneous network. In a homogeneous network, all the tissue looks and acts the same. So a deficit in one part of the brain would have the same effect as a deficit in another. But in reality, deficits and strengths can affect very specific aspects of the strategic skills. For example, if a student has strong top-down processing, then he or she might be skilled at making a plan, but have difficulty self-monitoring when executing the plan. Or the student might have the ability to watch someone else do something and then do it almost perfectly the first time. A student with strong bottom-up processing might achieve expertise after lots of practice and feedback, or might be an expert at finding information, but have difficulty organizing and keeping track of that information. Understanding the strategic networks in the brain helps you become a better learner and a better teacher. You can design optimal learning and teaching scenarios to support strategic learning for different kinds of learners and different kinds of learning needs. In my next video, I will address the affective networks, which help us evaluate patterns and assign them emotional significance. They enable us to engage with tasks and learning, and with the world around us. Look me up at www.ruthbomar.com or follow me on Facebook, Ruth Bomar, Academic Coach.